Hi, boys and girls. It's Miss Purcell. We are on lesson 8.3 today, multiplying fractions and whole numbers. We are in volume 2 on page 470. So if you have not had a chance to pull your materials, go ahead and pause the video and get your materials ready. We're going to start with the visual learning example on page 470. The essential question that we're going to use to guide us through this lesson is, how can you multiply fractions and whole numbers? The scenario we start with is Hal spent 3/4 an hour reading each day for 7 days. How much total time did he spend reading? We have the little girl here that says, I need to find the product of 7 times 3/4. And we can look over here at the bar diagram. They're showing us that we have 7 groups of 3/4 to find the total amount of time that Hal spent reading each for the 7 days. All right, one way we can do this, we've already looked at this method. We can multiply to find the number of fourths. So if we take the expression 7 times 3/4, we can think of it as 7 times 3 times 1/4, because 3/4 is really 1/4 3 times. And then using that associative property, we can look over here and multiply the whole numbers to get 21 times 1/4. That gives us 21/4. Of course, we're going to rename that improper fraction as its mixed number form by dividing the numerator by the denominator. If you can't do that in your head, you can always slip out to the side on a scratch sheet of paper, wherever. You know that your remainder is the numerator, and the divisor, which we had been the denominator, stays the denominator. So we get 5 1/4 hours. All right, another way that we can do this is we can rename the whole number as a fraction. I've shown you that over the last 2 lessons. I was calling that my shortcut method. And then you can multiply the numerators together, multiply the denominators together, and then write the product as a mixed number. So 7 times 3/4, they've rewritten 7 as 7/1 times 3/4. This step right here is not necessary. If you just know you're multiplying 7 times 3 to get 21 and 1 times 4 to get 4. Again, you're going to rewrite that mixed number, or that improper fraction, as a mixed number. So we did that in the first strategy. All right, boys and girls, let's take a look at the convince me. We're going to find 6 times 4/9, and then we're going to use repeated addition to justify our answer. So let's start. We could look at the first method, all right, first way, where we take 6 times 4/9, and we know that we can rewrite that as 6 times 4 times 1/9. Then we can multiply those whole numbers together to get 24 times 1/9, which gives us 24/9. All right. I know that 9 goes into 24 2 times. That gives me 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Counting up, I get 6/9. I'm going to have to simplify that. My common factor is 3. That's going to give me 2 2/3. All right. Now, let's try the next method. I think you guys are going to prefer where you just rename that whole number as a fraction by writing it with the denominator of 1, multiplying it times 4/9. All right. When we multiply 6 times 4, we get 24/9. That's where we were before. All right. And then we had 2 6/9, and then we had to simplify it by using the common factor, and we had 2 2/3. Let me show you guys something. We can use something that we call multiplying the fractions using cancellation. And if we can find a numerator and denominator that we can simplify with a common factor, we can get a product that doesn't usually need to be simplified. Let me show you what I'm talking about. 6/1 times 4/9. All right. I look at this and I see that 6 and 9 one numerator and one denominator. They don't have to be part of the same fraction. They just have to be a numerator and a denominator that are in the factors. I see that those have a common factor of 3. So if the common factor is 3, if I divide 6 by 3, I get 2. And if I divide 9 by 3, I get 3. And look what's going to happen here. Now I multiply 2 times 4, and I multiply 1 times 3. Now I get 8/3. I'm going to rewrite that as a mixed number. 3 goes into 8 2 times. That gives me 6, so 2 would be my remainder. So there it is, 2 2/3, and I did not have to simplify my answer. So you can practice this. There's some good videos on YouTube that I had watched. I posted one in our Google Classroom under Lesson 8.3 that I think you will find very easy to follow and get a little bit of practice with using using cancellation when you multiply your fractions, just to make your work a little bit easier on you so you don't have to spend so much time simplifying large numbers that you sometimes have a hard time with. All right, we were supposed to check this with repeated addition. You know what? We just have 4/9 6 times. So 4 times 6 gives me that 24/9. And again, we know we're going to get the right answer because that's what we had as our improper fraction. All right, let's flip over to the next page. We are on page 471. All right, I'm going to just jump over to numbers 3, 4, and 5. All right, so on number 3, 4, and 5, we're supposed to find the product, and then we have to write the product as a mixed number. So when I look at 3/8 times 4, what they're asking us to do is rewrite this as 3 times 4/8. All right, because we've got 3 over 1 times 4/8. So that gives us 12/8. All right, and then 12/8. If you have to do your work out to the side, there's not a problem with that. Most of you are at the point where you can divide in your head and know what your remainder is. So 8 goes into 12 one time. That gives me 4 left over. 4 is the numerator, and we have 1 4/8. Now, 1 4/8 will simplify. You guys can look at that and know that 4 is half of 8, or you can think about it in the terms of 4 is a common factor of both 4 and 8. So if I divide the numerator by 4 and the denominator by 4, I get 1 1/2. All right, let's look at number 8. We've got 8 times 5, 6. So we're going to be multiplying the numerators, 8 times 5, and the denominator is going to be 6. All right, 8 times 5 is 40, so we get 46. We're going to rename that improper fraction by dividing the numerator by the denominator. 6 goes into 40 6 times. That gives me 36, so I have 4 left over, so I have 6 4 6. 6 4 6 is going to simplify. The common factor is going to be 2. So I'm going to have 6 as the whole number. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 3 is 3. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 6 2/3. Number 5, same way. If you want to pause it, go ahead and see how you do with this one. That would be great. And then you can come back and look at it with me. I'm going to multiply the numerators, 5 and 4. The denominator, 7. That is going to give me 27ths. That improper fraction, I'm going to rename. 7 goes into 20 2 times. 2 times 7 is 14. So I have 6 left over, 6/7, and that does not simplify. All right, let's move down to the independent practice. So the very first one, 6, 7, and 8 pretty much look like what we were doing in our guided practice. So if you want to pause, work them out, and then come back and check your work, that's fine. If you feel like you're not proficient with this yet, then I'll talk you through it. So 3/4 times 14. We're going to multiply the numerators. 3 and 14, remember when I say I'm multiplying the numerators, what we're really doing is rewriting that whole number as a fraction by putting it over 1. And then the denominators would be 4 when you multiplied those, right? All right, 3 times 14 is 42. You get 42 fourths. All right, that improper fraction I need to rename. 4 goes into 42 10 times. 10 times 4 is 40, so that gives me 2 fourths. You guys should recognize that 2 fourths is going to simplify to 1/2 because 2 is half of 4. Or we could use the common factor of 2 and simplify by dividing 2 by 2 and 4 by 2. So 10.5. Number 7, numerators would be 600 times 2, and the denominators would be that 1 times 3 or just 3. We get 1,200 when we multiply 600 2 times and get 1,200 thirds. This one right here, we're going to have to rename as a mixed number. You know what? I can do this mentally. I know that 3 goes into 12 4 times, and then I have these 2 zeros. So I get a whole number, 400. Number 8, 5/9 times 37. Multiplying the numerators, we've got 5 times 37. The denominators, we have 9. And then we multiply, you know what? 5 times 37 is 185 ninths. And then I need to do some division. I know that 9 goes into 182 times, so I'm going to guess, 9 goes into 18 2 times, so I know that 9 is going to go into 180 20 times. Just doing some mental math here. 20 times 9 would be 180, so that would give me 5 left over. If you can't do the mental math, there's no shame in just working it out, a division problem, out to the side or on scratch paper. All right, now, number 9 through 16. I'm going to work these out with that second method that we saw on page 470. And I'm even going to use some cancellation to help make the numbers more manageable. So if you want to do these with me, that's fine. If you want to try to do them yourself, pause the video and then check it with me. Again, whatever strategy works for your learning style. All right, so I have 4/5 times 500. I'm going to rewrite this as 4/5 times 500 over 1. Now, I know that 4 and 1 will not simplify, but I do know that 5 and 500 simplify. The common factor is 5. So think about 5 divided by 5. What we're doing is we're dividing our numerator and denominator by that common factor. So I'm just going to make a note there. So 5 divided by 5 gives me 1, and 500 divided by 5 gives me 100. So look at what happens. Now I have much easier numbers to manage. 4 times the new numerator of 100 gives me 400, and 1 times 1 is 1. So my answer to number 9 is going to be 400. All right, you guys see how that works? All right, number 2, I'm going to rewrite it as 5 over 1 times 2/3. I don't see any common factors for the numerators and the denominators, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply my numerators. 5 times 2 is 10. My denominator, 1 times 3 is 3. I'm going to rename or rewrite that improper fraction as a mixed or whole number by dividing the numerator by the denominator. 3 goes into 10 3 times. That gives me 9, so I'd have 1 left over, and I'm working with thirds. So I get 3 and 1. All right, number 11, we're going to rewrite it as 17 over 1 times 6/8. I don't see any numerator or denominator that I can cancel out, so I'm going to have to multiply. 17 times 6 is 102. Might have to work that out on the side. 1 times 8 is 8. I'm going to rewrite this as a mixed number or a whole number. 8 actually goes into 102 12 times. That gives me 96. 96 up to 102 gives me 6 as a remainder, 6/8. I'm going to have to simplify. The common factor is 2, so I get 12. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So I get 12 and 3/4. All right, let's look at number 12. 9/10 times 25 over 1. I'm looking, I can actually do some cancellation here. I can divide the 10 and the 25 by 5. That's the common factor. So 10 divided by 5 is 2. 25 divided by 5 is 5. It's going to give me some smaller numbers to work with. 9 times 5 is 45. 2 times 1 is 2. I know that 2 goes into 45. Let's see, it's going to go 22 times. That gives me 44, so 1 remainder. So I get 22 and 1/2. Okay? I'm getting some big numbers here. So let's look at number 13. 7/8 times 320. Whoops. Over 1. You know, I know that 8 is the common factor. 8 goes into itself 1 time. Make a little note there. And I know that 8 goes into 32 4 times, and then I have that 0 left over. So using some of those mental math skills that we've been developing throughout the year helps me with that. 7 times 40. I know 7 times 4 is 28. So 7 times 40 is 280 over 1. So guys, pretty simple with a lot of mental math there. I get 280. All right, number 14. I'm going to take 28 over 1 times 7/12. All right, I know 1 and 7 don't have any common factors. 28 and 12. How about we use 4? If we divide by 4, I know that 12 divided by 4 is 3, and I know that 28 divided by 4 is 7. All right, that's going to help me out a little bit. 7 times 7 is 49. 1 times 3 is 3. All right, so I am going to have to convert or change that improper fraction to a mixed number. 3 will go into 49 16 times. 16 times 3 is 48. So I would have 1 left over, so 16 and 1/3. All right, now talk about some large numbers. All right, let's take a look at the next one. 2/3 times 1,287 over 1. I'm going to go out to the side and see if by chance 1,287 is divisible by 3. And it is. It actually goes into 1,287 429 times. All right, and it goes into itself once. So 429 3 times. You're going to have to work that out to the, 429 2 times. Work that out to the side. I get 858 over 1. And that equals 858. All right, and the last one, we're going to make the whole number a fraction, multiply it times 2/9. I see I can cross-reduce 909. 9's a common factor. So I'm going to divide the numerator and denominator by 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1. 900 divided by 9 is 100. So when I multiply my new numerators, I get 100 times 2 is 200. 1 times 1 is 1. That is the whole number 200. All right, so I gave you a little bit of practice with some cancellation. I hope you're catching on to that and seeing how it helps keep you from working with such large numbers. All right, again, like I've said all year long, you've got to know your multiplication facts in order to access your common factors quickly. Your work, you're going to be doing your book work on page 473, or if you would rather do the online practice buddy, I have that posted, a link to that under your Google Classroom, under your resources for lesson 8.3. So you are welcome to do the practice buddy. Make sure you're using pencil and paper and working out the problems before you put them in the computer. All right. I hope you boys and girls have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Thank you.